Why did Israel go to war? But why don't Christians today? That is a fair question. Christians are forbidden from going to war, but the Bible is pretty much like pro-war, especially the Old Testament. Like that's pretty much the only thing that's going on over there. This is a little morning worship by none other than the channel's favorite, Stephen Lett.
The saying that war can't kill love, but love can kill war. And Jehovah's Witnesses truly exemplify that saying. All of man's horrible wars have not killed off the love of Jehovah's people, in fact, made it stronger. And yet their love has killed off war among their ranks and even from within their hearts.
First, I love his faces. I just love his face. He has the rubberiest face ever.
God and the children of the devil are evident by this fact. The children of God love their brothers. The children of the devil slaughter their brothers like Cain slaughtered his brother. But you know, sometimes in the ministry and in other places, when we try to bring up our stand regarding not participating in war, our Christian neutrality, people will bring up the objection about the Israelites. They'll say, well, they were God's people. They fought war.
I love it. No. People bring out how it is unbiblical. All right. That's it. And I love like the Israelites because he can just be like, that is the Old Testament. It's an old thing. He doesn't talk about how soldiers were baptized in the New Testament. And the only thing that they were asked is that they wouldn't abuse their power. They don't talk about how this general Agrippa was baptized also, like after Christ died and everything. And he was a general and like he didn't have to quit. Like there's very obviously like military people who are Christian in the Bible, and that's fine.
So why can't Christians fight in wars? How do you deal with that argument? Well, if you're going to overcome that, you obviously have to show them there's a vast difference between the Israelites in Bible times and true Christians today. In fact, let's briefly discuss 5 differences. Number 1, in the days of the Israelites, God's people were gathered into one nation. So when they went into battle against the pagan nations, they weren't killing fellow believers. They weren't killing their brothers. But today, Revelation 7:9 says that the great crowd of true Christians is scattered in all nations, tribes, peoples, and tongues. So if Christians participated in war today, what would happen? We would end up killing fellow believers, our brothers. And of course, we know
that is the only argument that they have against war, that they would be killing their brothers, which is very easily debunked by being like, well, all right, just make sure that you're on God's side, right? Like, let's say if they're in Germany in the 20s, just tell people to not go to war because that's bad and just condemn that shit. Seems pretty simple. I mean, you're God's people. Can't you know which side is good and which side is bad at war? Like now, you can just be like, if you're Palestinian, like you can rise up against Israel, but like, you can't be a Zionist. Like that's not a thing, right? Like I don't understand. Why is he like, that we will levelly happen?
Well, that is happening among ones who claim to be God's people who take up the sword. We find Catholic killing their fellow Catholics. We find the same thing among the Methodists, the Baptists, Muslims, slaughtering members of their own religion. It makes me think of a conversation I had many years ago with a high-ranking Mormon elder. And I asked him, I said, well, what is your position on war? He said, we don't like war. I said, but what do you do, though? If you're living in a country at a time, there's a draft, you're drafted into the military. He said, well, if the government makes this to us, it's their responsibility. We go ahead and fight. I said, do you then kill another Mormon on the battlefield? Because I know you have Mormons in many different countries. He said, well, if I knew he was a Mormon, I'd let him go. I said, but normally, it's not possible to check with each person before you shoot them. Well, he didn't admit it, but obviously he got the point that was made there. But now let's go to...
I love that even in his story, it's like, well, I mean, I didn't manage to convince him. Even in my story, like he wasn't convinced by me, Stephen Lett, member of the governing body. But yeah, I mean, I bet in his heart he was though.
For a second difference, Jehovah God who can read hearts, personally judged as worthy of execution the people the Israelites went up against. He directly told them to execute his judgment on these demon-worshiping people whose worship included gross sexual immorality, even child sacrifice. Open up to Leviticus chapter 18, please, and notice an example of Jehovah telling the Israelites concerning the Canaanites. Now, here's what he said. Leviticus 18, verse 24, Jehovah says, do not make...
Is Lett implying that it's all right to kill people as long as it's not a member of your own religion? Yes, that is exactly what he's implying. You cannot go to war because you may risk shooting people who are from your own religion, and that is wrong. Shooting people in general, like that's fine. That's fine. But you as a Jehovah's Witness cannot shoot another Jehovah's Witness. But according to this logic, that means that Jehovah's Witness can just shoot a Mormon. And, it's fine because it's not their brother.
Yourselves unclean by any of these things, for it is by all these things that the nations that I am driving out from before you have made themselves unclean. Therefore, the land is unclean, and I will bring punishment on it for its error, and the land will vomit its inhabitants out. So Jehovah told them to execute his judgment on these people. Now, here's our third difference. The Israelite wars kill selectively. And we have just two examples of many that could be related. Joshua chapter 6 shows that Rahab and her entire household were miraculously spared. Why? Because
they were from the same religion, and that is the important thing.
Exercised faith in Jehovah. Or what about Joshua chapters 9 and 10? Talks about how Jehovah spared the Gibeonites, who were actually in line for destruction because they exercised faith in Jehovah. Now, that's just a couple of examples, but in today's wars, are people spared because of their obedience and faith? No.
See, you can't spare people because of their obedience and faith in the governing. In Jehovah, according to the governing body.
Often the civilian casualties are greater than the soldier casualties when they drop their bombs.
First of all, no, often no. When the civilian casualties are larger than the soldier casualties. Are you referencing Palestine? That's a genocide. That's not just war, right? I feel like he's like, the tunnels were under those hospitals, Hamas tunnels, and they keep putting hostages in front of them. So you know what you do when someone is robbing a bank and has a hostage? You shoot every single one of the hostages to try to get to the bank robber. And one of them may be a Jehovah's Witness, which is why you can't shoot anyone.
The collateral damage, as they call it, often results in substantial death of innocent people. Let's get our fourth difference now. The Israelite soldiers were required to conduct their warfare according to Jehovah's guidelines. Now, here are just a few examples of Jehovah's guidelines, of many that could be related. Open up to Deuteronomy chapter 23, please. Deuteronomy 23. And notice what Jehovah told the Israelite army, the soldiers. Deuteronomy 23, beginning in verse 9. When you are encamped against your enemies, you should avoid anything bad. Look at verse 12. A private place should be designated for use outside the camp. They would go out there and relieve themselves. See, why? Look at verse 14. For Jehovah your God is walking about within your camp to deliver you and to hand over your enemies to you. And your camp must be holy, so that he does not see anything indecent in you and turn away from accompanying you. Yes, Jehovah required cleanliness among these Israelite soldiers because actually they were sanctified for warfare. But now, what about soldiers today? Obviously, very different.
Jehovah's Witnesses are like, no, that happened before. Like all of those people were like anointed by God to go kill people. And we can't do that anymore, we decided. We are like the prophets in every other way. You have to listen to us. We are the people who are leading Jehovah's people and all of that shit. But we cannot sanction wars because I'd need to read about politics, and it's just so boring.
In fact, the Insight book talks about how that they were certainly not allowed to rape any of the conquered cities' women. In fact,
Yes, what? Yes, they did. Yeah, okay, I'll pull it up. Hold on.
they couldn't even marry such a woman for 1 month. Page 173 of the Insight book, you can get a lot of Jehovah's guidelines that he gave to the Israelite soldiers. Now, one more difference, Jehovah fought with the Israelites, giving them miraculous victories. And again, we'll just give 2 examples of many that could be.
Let me read this to you. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10. When you go to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands and you take captives, if you notice among the captives a beautiful woman and are attracted to her, you may take her as your wife. Bring her into your home and have her shave her head, trim her nails, and put aside the clothes she was wearing when captured. After she has lived in your house and mourn her father and mother for a full month, then you may go to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. If you are not pleased with her, let her go wherever she wishes. You must not sell her or treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her. Like, you already fucked her, so she's damaged goods. Don't sell her as a slave. What is he talking about? Like, this is literally, like, this is a war crime. This is a war crime. Taking civilians from the population that you're pillaging, and then decided, oh, I'm going to marry her. I'm going to give her a month, though. I'm going to give her a month to mourn the fact that I've killed her entire family and everything she holds dear. I'm going to give her a month, and then I'm going to fuck her. And then if I don't like her, then I can just, move her out. But, she can't even be a slave, which is loving. What? No. This is under coercion. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Related. How was the Battle of Jericho won? Well, the priests blew horns. The military force marched. The army shouted, and the walls fell flat. Jehovah gave them that victory. Or what about the victory of the Gibeonites, the victory over the kings that attacked them? Joshua 10:11 says, Jehovah hurled great hailstones from the sky, so that more died from the hail than from the sword of the Israelites. Well, unlike today, Jehovah fought with the Israelites. So there we have 5 differences. In the days of the Israelites, see, unlike today, God's people were gathered in one nation. So they didn't go up against their brothers when they went into war. And secondly, Jehovah personally judged those executed as worthy of such. Third, the Israelite wars were killings only selectively. And 4, the Israelite soldiers were required to conduct their warfare according to Jehovah's strict guidelines. And number 5, Jehovah fought with the Israelites, giving them miraculous victories. So you could truly say that the Israelite wars were holy wars, but the wars of today's wicked world are anything but holy. No wonder Jesus said that theocratic warfare would no longer include the use of physical weapons. Remember what he said in Matthew 26:52? He said, those that take up the sword will die, perish.
Yeah, but he also baptized soldiers. And he was like, yeah, no, just be chill about being soldiers. Like, what is he doing? Jehovah's wanted to cherry pick the Bible so fucking much, I swear to God.
By the sword. And he taught his followers not to harm their enemies, in fact, to even pray for them. And his position, of course, is in harmony with Jehovah's prophecy at Isaiah 2:2-4, that in the final part of the days, God's people would beat their swords into plowshares, and they would not even learn war anymore, much less participate in it.
And that is why the Jehovah's Witnesses were forbidden from even joining the Red Army. Pretty much the main reason why the Germans lost in the Second World War. If it was for Jehovah's Witnesses, then nobody would have fought Germany. Also, like, this is very stupid because they're like, oh, you can't kill people because Jehovah had already judged them in the other wars. Okay, Jehovah kills people by accident in other wars. So remember Sodom and Gomorrah? Like, we just learned that Jehovah may resurrect those people because, he made an oopsie by killing them and he's just going to resurrect them anyway. Why doesn't that apply to just war? Like, why can't I just kill my fellow brother? And then if Jehovah is there, well, he just resurrects them, right? This is against what they have taught, because Stephen Lett is saying how everyone that Jehovah destroyed, Jehovah had already judged as a person that deserved to be destroyed. However, in the last annual meeting, we learned that people that were destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah, people that were destroyed in those wars, maybe those people may come back to life. Maybe. Who knows? We don't have the answers to those questions anymore, according to David's plane. Very stupid and infuriating speech by Stephen Lett that really shows how Jehovah's Witnesses pretty much willfully have to misinterpret the Bible, because the Bible is pretty much pro-war. Most of the Bible is just talking about wars and why it's like a good thing to do wars. So Jehovah's Witnesses have to gaslight and just cherry pick verses out of the Bible to be like, no, it's just like, if you read just this bit and then don't read anything else, it sounds like the Bible is kind of against wars. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for supporting and for watching, and for, oh man, I just realized I didn't smoke in this whole stream. Like, we need to smoke before leaving. I can't. That's my brand now. Like, Caleb over here is literally has its own joint. Like, that's my brand now. Like, can you listen? Don't send me money for a lawyer, but can you send me money for like an ounce or something?